Happy Friday, everyone. This is Christine Graves. I'm an executive career coach, if you're not familiar with me. And I'm very excited to be talking here with my friend, the Reverend Jemie Sae Koo, regarding the microdosing method. And it should be a really good discussion. We want to give you good answers because so many people don't understand about microdosing, plant medicine, how it's just such a wonderful resource. I'm sharing my experience with you today. In my work, I work with leaders in marketing and sales, and so many of you are just really struggling today. You know, so many are struggling with job transition, or you could be in a role that is not fulfilling and you're struggling in that. And there's problems with that. So I want to share my experience with you today to help you. And I'm just really honored that Jemie Sae Koo can have this discussion with me. So Jemie, thank you for being here.
Truly an honor. Thank you for having me, Christine. So today we're going to explore Christine's journey as a member of the microdosing method. She's an alum, and she's going to share how her transformation in TMM has truly rippled through her career, her practice, and how she shows up to help her clients and her life. And so for those of you that are new to us here, the microdosing method is designed as a guided 5-week step-by-step journey with a 12-month integration support that brings in the foundational lifestyle principles to support you in your healing and in your well-being. And so it's not just about taking what we call a sacrament. It's also about pairing the microdosing with a structured, safe support system and approaching it with intentional practices that create real lasting results and transformation. So with that said, Christine, let's just jump into it. Just a few questions for you. I'm curious what initially drew you into the microdosing method program?
It's really interesting how it all evolved. A really good friend of mine who I just trust so much, she had some experience with plant medicine that she had shared with me. And I really didn't know anything about it prior to that. And what little I did know was, I would say, was misinformation. You know, so it was great that she felt comfortable enough to share her experience with me. And then it just made me very curious. And then earlier this year, when one of my coaches shared the microdosing method program with me and a bunch of others, it like opened the door even further. It's like, I really should gather more information on this. I don't know if it is right for me, but I do want to explore this further. And then the more information I obtained, the more comfortable, I don't like to say that word comfortable, though, the more informed I was. And I felt like I was able to make a better decision. And I just felt called to pursue it. So I did.
Beautiful. And what was sort of the most powerful shift you can recall that you experienced as being a part of the program?
There's so many. There's a lot of shifts. I think that the biggest one was helping me to really listen to myself, listen to my intuition. We all have intuition, and I've been on this journey in listening to my intuition and developing it more. Like, intuition is one of our senses. However, I really feel that we're discouraged to use our intuition in so many different ways. And in the workplace, we're not really encouraged to use it. Yet it can be such a valuable asset to us and in living our lives and making decisions. So that was probably one of the biggest things. I mean, I had made some improvements before being in the program regarding my intuition, but then it helped me to continue that work and to just develop it even more, and to really listen to myself, because I wasn't listening to myself before. I was listening to others and really listening to myself, and I feel like God is inside of me as well, and listening to that inner voice and reconnecting with my faith and my God and my spirituality is huge.
Beautiful. Yeah. So what I heard you say is just this deepening of the listening and tuning into that intuition, that inner truth, and also deepening your relationship with God, your deepening of that spiritual side of you as well.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Um, and so I'm curious with respect to just even like day-to-day application examples, how have you found that being in our program now, working with microdosing and the integration practices, how has that impacted your life, your work, and how you show up for your clients?
I would say it's definitely reduced the second guessing that I've had. So we all have that inner critic. We have an inner critic, and I like to think that we also have an inner mentor, So, that's from Tara Moore, from one of her amazing books, playing big. So, but anyway, with that inner critic, that voice can be so loud. I mean, the statistics are alarming. I think it's like 90,000 negative thoughts or something that we have on loop and stuff. So I think for me, I was able to frame that. I mean, there's a place for that because, again, it helps us to survive and
Right.
not get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. That there is a place for that. But then when it's too strong, it keeps us from growing. It keeps us from stretching and reaching and doing the things that I was here to be put on this to get accomplished, while I'm here. So really getting that balance back and just like framing it and not being able to make decisions motivated from a place of love and not from a place of fear.
There's so much richness to this that you just touched on. I was just really struck by making decisions from a place of love rather than fear. And so much I feel oftentimes, particularly in the corporate world, so much is driven by fear. Fear of, not reaching your revenue goals, fear of not reaching your KPIs, your metrics, fear of that unknown, even with as much strategy or planning that gets done, and just living in fear. And so what I'm hearing you say is that by working through with these tools, it has helped you be able to quell those fears, still acknowledge it, but quell those fears and really tap into from that place of love. And so that leads me to my next question. Some might say that microdosing is too woo, or there's a lot of, still the misconceptions about what it truly is, and how helpful it is. What would you say to executives, professionals, and leaders who feel that feel that way, but is really quietly struggling and oftentimes suffering in silence?
Yeah, I would say it helps you to build resilience because, when I was listening to what you're saying, yes, there is fear in the corporate setting. There's a lot of fear, and that really holds corporations back from fulfilling their mission, and from hitting those revenue goals and it's like, why do we think it's either or, why can't we hit our revenue goals and really make a difference in the community and in the world? Why can't we do that? I mean, that's what we should have that alignment, and a lot of it too is not having that safety, like human beings, men and women, we all need human beings. We need safety. However, we may not be able to get safety from the corporate setting. So we have to provide that for ourselves.
That's right. Yeah.
We have to provide that for ourselves. And I've been in therapy for a long time, and therapy has been helpful, but I felt from participating in the microdosing method, it helped me to provide those tools faster for myself, to build that safety for myself. And in providing that safety for myself, that helps me to be resilient. That helps me to show up on the playing field and play my very best. And if I get injured, I'm on the sideline, I get repaired, I get attended to, and then I'm able to go back on the playing field and play.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm also hearing you say is what's coming through, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this sense of self-empowerment, right? And having the tools to have that self-empowerment and then that self-sufficiency to be able to resource yourself with safety, especially if everything around the world and in your environment and in your, corporate life is signaling that it's unsafe. And that really, no one else is going to look out for you and say, hey, Christine, I sense that you're not feeling safe. Let me show you safety. And no one's really going to look out for us. And it really takes us to reclaim that power back within ourselves and to be able to resource ourselves to then signal to our body, signal to our nervous system that it is safe. And so that when we have that foundational sense of safety, that is where we can truly, fully show up from that place of clarity, of calm, of centeredness, of more alignment. And when we come from that place, that is when then everything starts to flourish and starts to thrive around us.
Yeah, you can resource yourself. You really can. It's just coming out of that place where you think you can't, and you're constantly looking for a solution outside of yourself when you had the answer all along. You had the medicine yourself.
Beautiful. Yeah. What's also coming up to me is in my corporate career, especially in the consulting world and in the legal world, consulting world especially, I remember there was a pivotal moment in that experience where I, was working 150-hour work weeks. I wasn't eating. I wasn't taking any breaks. I skipped all of my doctor appointments, with this, I don't know, it was like this insatiable drive to just, keep going, keep working, keep doing, and thinking to myself, or having this lie of illusion to myself that I'm invincible. I didn't even, like, sickness or illness did not even come into my awareness. And so there was that moment where, I started having a lot of mysterious symptoms come up for me, where globs in my hair fell out. I had developed brain fog. I felt so overwhelmed. I couldn't even formulate a clear sentence, let alone have a conversation. And it was in that moment where all these mysterious symptoms came up for me, where I was like, you know what? No one is watching out for me. No one is saying, hey, Jemie, you don't look well. You might want to go take a break, or you might want to go eat, or you might want to go resource yourself. And it was like this aha moment that came to me that was like, oh, no one else is going to watch out for me. No one else is going to look out for me. I need to look out for myself, and I need to take care of myself. I need to learn how to love myself. And so when saying that, I'm curious, what was the moment in your career, in your corporate career, when you realized that something had to shift in your life, not only externally, but also internally within yourself?
I would say, I think I really got it. I think it really clicked. I want to say it was pretty recent. I mean, it was a process. It was evolving, and I was getting closer and closer to it. But I had a lot of change in my life that started like last year, and just a lot going on. And I was in a flight or fight, but I was mainly flight,
Mm-hmm.
running. And I've told family members and friends that I felt like someone was kind of almost chasing me with a chainsaw, running as fast as I can. And I lost them 10 miles ago. So I definitely lost them, but I just kept on running and running because of being in that strong flight mode, and then basically a month ago, finally just being like letting out that final breath of, I'm safe, and I can resource myself. And, and just really that clicking into place for me, and having that knowing that, I'm connected to my God, and my God is always there helping me. Yes, there are going to be challenges there. I know we can count on that, right? There are going to be challenges in life. There was that part of me that was like, why do there have to be challenges? Why do I have to do it? I think of that as my inner child being like, no, I don't want to have to deal with that. Why do I really have to? But it's like accepting that and being like, yes, there are going to be those challenges, and you will be able to meet those challenges and move past those challenges. But if it hadn't have been for the microdosing method, I wouldn't have made it. I would still be in that flight mode, and I'd still be running, even though I lost the chainsaw person 10 miles back.
That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things that came up for me while listening to you is this thing around, a lot of times folks in the corporate world don't even realize, one, they don't realize how much tension that they're holding, or that their nervous system is just regulated, or they're in the fight or flight or fawn or freeze mode, or even have the awareness that something is off. Like there's oftentimes I've through my own practice with my clients, I've oftentimes seen that they've already disconnected or disassociated so much from their bodies that they're not even aware what's happening. And what I have found is oftentimes, especially many corporate professionals, they are feeling stuck with what we call the golden handcuffs. High pay, really low fulfillment. I'm curious, what has helped you begin to shift that paradigm, and how have you guided clients into more of that awareness and clarity and alignment?
Yeah. How have I been able to shift that paradigm? I think, again, it just comes back to having faith. I was reminded, you just reminded me of that beautiful quote from Dr. Martin Luther King about just take the next step in faith. You may not see the whole staircase, but if you just take the next step, and when you're driving at night, that your headlights can only help you see so far. You can't see way out in the distance. So with that, I think it's important to be there for yourself, and to listen to yourself. And it does start with your body. I've been told that I've been disconnected from my body. Like when I was working with an intuitive coach, she told me because I'm a marathon runner, and when I go running, and I love to run by myself, she told me, you basically kind of disconnect from your body. You get lost in the music that you're listening to. And I love music and I enjoy that, but it's not, I want to be grounded in my body. I'm in my body for a reason. I want to live it. I want to be here. I want to be in the world. I want to be with people. I want to be present. So just helping, I think, in our corporate jobs, we get caught in the things, and we get disconnected from our bodies. And it's like, and this year of my marathon training, I've been paying a lot more attention to my body and how my body is feeling. And that makes a huge difference, because you have to, if you ask any professional athlete, I'm sure that, they have to pay attention to their bodies, and they just have to. And I think when they don't, then that's a huge mistake. So yeah.
Yeah. And also what I'm hearing you say is that our body is always communicating to us, and that we really need to pay attention and listen to what our bodies are saying. Even when we are symptomatic, it's not about just like numbing it and just pushing past it. Because, for us that are oftentimes high performers, high achievers, we tell that, our pain for our threshold for pain is really high. And it's almost like you wear that badge of honor, like I can push through anything, right? I can push through any pain. And it doesn't mean it's going to go away. It's just like, you're just like stuffing it more and more. And what tends to happen is sort of the crescendos to the point where it literally brings you to your knees to pay attention to it. And so,
yeah,
I think
you're forced
to.
You have no choice whatsoever. So, and when I'm working with my clients, I'm really dialing into my intuition and listening to them, because they're working with me to be a mirror and to show them things that maybe they're not seeing. So if I'm seeing that, I'm going to tell them that, because they need to be aware of it. It's huge.
Yeah. And I think what you're also alluding to is reinforcing to them that the body has, number one, its own innate intelligence and truth. And we have to listen to it. Right. Yeah. And that the body also contains the power, and that which is the divine out there is also the divine within us. And so much of the system is designed oftentimes to disconnect us from remembering that, how powerful we are and how divine we truly are. And that there is that the body also has its innate truth, its innate wisdom. And so we need to start to listen to that truth and that wisdom.
Yeah. God is in our DNA. He is in our DNA. So, and yeah, that cannot be denied.
Absolutely.
Not denied.
I'm curious if you can speak to the difference between performing at high levels, at a high level from a lot of pressure, which a lot of folks, especially in the senior manager, director, and above, and C-suites, oftentimes show forth in how they perform, versus showing up with true purpose and clarity, and from that place of intuition.
Yeah. The question that comes to mind is, why does it have to be so hard? Because we make it hard,
It can actually be really easy.
It can be really easy. And that's what it's like when you're operating from your purpose versus operating from scarcity and pressure and fear, so like when you're in that stressful environment and it's like, oh, we have to get all these things done, and it's not, you're lacking alignment, and it feels so forced, it's like, oh, pushing this huge boulder up this hill, and the incline is just like, but versus it's a lot more flow. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying like unicorns and rainbows are hopping out of the sky, but it there's more flow to it, and yes, you may encounter challenges, but you're moving, you're taking action. There is that momentum that happens. So yeah.
The other thing I was struck by your naming is this aspect of faith, and how it can be so easy, and that, we just have to have faith. And that beautiful quote you said by Martin Luther King, right? And what that reminds me too is this parable from the Bible about having faith as small as a mustard seed, right? That is all that is required of us, is just having faith as small as a mustard seed. And so what is beautiful about microdosing and working with these sacraments is that its ability to push us beyond that monkey mind, because as you said in the beginning, it's like we get bombarded with tens of thousands of negative thought patterns and even rumination and loops. And that the microdosing can actually help us push beyond that monkey mind, right? Of that mind, of that ego, and drop us back down into our hearts, and to reconnect us back to that truth and that intuition that is within us, and to be able to hear that truth beyond all of the noise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing to just be able to, again, get reconnected. It's like we get disconnected. There's a difference between being in the world and being of the world, and it's like when we're in the world, we need to be grounded. We need to be connected to ourselves. We need to be connected to our souls and to God. And it's just versus of the world. I mean, everything is changing and it's always changing. The one constant is God, and it's just like, what are you going to be pursuing? What are you here for? What is your purpose? What is it that lights you up? Because that was a gift to you, so it's like pursuing that, taking advantage of that gift and really using that gift and being able to move forward with that gift. So
beautiful. Yeah, you reminded me of the conversation I had with Pastor Mike Mumford a few days ago. And, he's been a pastor for decade plus in local churches and, also supporting, his congregation and members of it. And one thing he said to me was that, in all my years of, being able to work with the members of the church, what I have found is that when I give them the mushroom, that is an opportunity for them to meet their truth and to connect back with God. And so I really don't need to do anything. A lot of my clients even go, years through therapy. And the moment that they decide that they feel that they can be supported by the sacrament, they enter into that beautiful relationship with the plant medicine, that it just connects them back to their truth. It connects them back to the God within them. And so that was the discussion that Pastor Mike Mumford and I had a few days ago.
I'm going to have to catch that. I would love to listen to that conversation. So that sounds like a really good one. So
yeah, beautiful. You worked with both men and women in executive positions and in leadership. What do you think are the difference about what they are carrying, especially in today's world, and all the pressures that they have to carry, and how they express burnout or misalignment?
Yeah, I think, well, going back to the whole safety issue and how there's a lack of safety, and that is just so crucial. That's the first thing that needs to be addressed in order for people to really be themselves in the workplace, and to really be their best. And for men, I think men are just held to this ridiculous standard that you don't need safety. Why do you need safety? You're, just get it done. You're supposed to be Superman and you're supposed to do this and that, and you don't need safety. So, which is baloney. So, because every human being needs safety. So yeah. And so I think that's a huge burden on men, especially. Women, we are not seen fully in the workplace for all that we bring, our light. Our light is often dampened and just, covered up. And it's like, no, women, our lights need to shine brightly. And, and men, I would say that's the key difference is safety for men. Men need safety too. And women need to be allowed to fully shine, and then not putting men in a box, because if men clearly if we all had more safety in the workplace, then I think we wouldn't be held to these standards where, I have to be in a box and I can only do such and such things. So,
yeah. In speaking about women, so let's go there first. And I want to kind of dive a little deeper in that. What comes up for me in listening to what you just shared is I have noticed a trend with women, especially in leadership roles, where a lot of them oftentimes are silently struggling with chronic illness and autoimmune issues, and particularly around the thyroid. And, we know that the thyroid is associated with your throat chakra. And so if your truth and your conviction isn't being fully expressed, what happens is all of that stuck energy gets pushed down in the throat. And when that stuck energy is not expressed, is not moving, then that is where disease and illness and autoimmune issues start to manifest. It starts to form. And so I'm curious, Christine, is that something that you've also noticed with women in the workplace as well? And could you share some of your observations around that too?
Yeah, I would say as I'm listening to you, yeah, I think many of my female clients have felt that they were not heard in the workplace. They were not, and they didn't feel safe in order to
Mm-hmm.
voice their view, in order to voice the problems that they saw, in order to, so not only did they, or if they did take the risk of voicing their concerns,
Mm-hmm.
they were ignored. They weren't heard. So, and that's not good. Like if you're ignored, then that doesn't encourage you to keep on speaking up. So it's like you have to be even more resilient in the face of being ignored.
Mm-hmm.
So
And so what can one do, right? Because we recognize that these are patterns and behaviors that are in the corporate realm. What can one do when they are finding themselves in places where they tried before to speak their truth, or they're finding themselves having to really shove down that truth? What would you say to that?
I would say don't be hopeless, but at the same time, you need to take action. You need to take action for yourself. And if you're in a room where you're not being heard, then let's do the work to find a new room, because
Mm,
there are rooms where you will be heard. So it's like finding people that have similar values,
mm,
being because they are out there. There are good corporate environments to work in. There are. I mean, I've been in those environments, so they do exist. It's just it's kind of like the news, right? With the news, we hear all this negativity because negativity sells, and that's what gets people's attention. But what about the good things? There are good things in the world, there's many blessings, but what you put your energy on grows. So we need to put, and I'm not saying being a Pollyanna, but we see the negativity, but we don't let it suck our energy. We acknowledge it, and then we keep on moving, and we give our energy to the things that we want to give our energy to. So find that room where you are heard, because it is there. It does exist.
yeah, and I think what brings up for me is that it's like, oh, easier said than done, Christine, right? Oh, find that room, and so it's like it's already I think the talk about the one of the tens of thousands of negative thoughts that come up is like, so hard economy. AI is, disrupting the workplace and, taking away jobs. It's, I don't even know what my values are at this point. I'm just trying to pay the bills, right? Or maintain a certain lifestyle that I've used to. So what I notice is that oftentimes it's the brain that comes up with all of these things that also is looking for the evidence of the familiar, because it signals safe even when it's not safe, right? So we have a tendency to choose a familiar hell than an unfamiliar heaven.
Yes, we do. We definitely do. So, but the thing is, it's like you need to take that step. Like just take one step out
Mm-hmm.
of your comfort zone, and then maybe the next day you can take two steps out of your comfort zone. And think about what's one thing that I could do to move the needle today. Is I can hear my coach's voice in my brain telling me that. And then also to do something uncomfortable, to do
Mm.
something, and maybe it's something small. I'm not saying you have to go skydiving or anything like that, but do something that's uncomfortable for you, a small baby step of being uncomfortable. And then after you do it, then you'll realize that wasn't so bad after all. So,
right. And it starts with us. It starts with us, right? And so those small steps, first of all, those small steps compounds over time. So, it's like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. You're not just going to like hop and like, end up on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. It's those small little steps, right? Focusing on those small little steps and not looking up and feeling, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. How am I ever going to get there? You're not going to get to that destination if you don't take those small little steps. And speaking of small steps, this is why microdosing is so valuable and can be so positively impactful. And speaking of doing something unfamiliar, it could be either microdosing or cleaning up your nutrition, taking a very anti-inflammatory approach, which means shifting your lifestyle choices too. It could be, just taking a breath, taking a moment to stop and pause and take a deep breath from your belly, right? Yeah. All those things is simple. It's easy. And so talk about doing something uncomfortable. It could be uncomfortable for you to even stop and pause and take a deep breath.
Yeah. Yeah, it can. It really can. And there's so many things that we are immersed in that we're not aware of. Like you just reminded me of, like, when you're talking about nutrition, like, what about all the toxins that are in the environment? I mean,
That's right.
Because of the 12 pillars in the program. I mean, I developed a greater awareness of EMF, and the water supply and the food supply and my pots and pans in my kitchen, like there's like toxins and poisons all around us, and just having a much greater awareness of them, and just so much learning from the program. It was amazing. So
what would you say to high-level leaders and executives and professionals who feel like they just have to wear a mask all day to survive at work? And some of them may not be in a position to leave their respective posts as well. I'm curious, what message would you say to them?
Yeah. If you're not in a position to leave your current role right now, start to put together your exit plan, put together your exit strategy, I've done that, and you can too. So, and I can help you, or if you feel comfortable with someone else, but get help. You don't have to do it by yourself, but you have to start now. It's not going to magically happen. Too many people, and I've done it too, like bury your head in the sand and you're just kind of hoping it'll go away, but that never happens with a problem. When you bury your head in the sand, it just continues to grow and get worse. So yeah, start taking action immediately, and it can be small action. It should be small action. But you can start taking action today and start formulating a plan. That's what you need to do.
Beautiful. You talk a lot about tapping into your truth and intuition. And I'm curious if you can speak to the cost of disconnection in leadership, not just personally, but also across team culture, innovation, and retention.
The cost of, I'm sorry, you broke.
The cost of disconnection in yourself, in leadership, not just in our personal life, but now how does that impact across the team, the culture, the innovation, and retention?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. It's like that. We need that alignment. We need that alignment with each other. And you think about it, when we think about successful teams that we know in the past, like I love to think of the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr. I mean, just all these different personalities that were able to come together. And, Michael Jordan, of course, by himself was amazing. But however, on this team, leading this team, it was amazing what they were able to accomplish. So that's the thing. We forget that when we come together and when we're connected with each other, we can accomplish so much together. We really can. But, and that's what we lose sight of. So we need that connection. If we really want to get really huge, big things done, those big, hairy, audacious goals. And we can do that, and we can do it, and it'll be more like flow. It'll be, again, not to say it's going to be perfect, and there's going to be a lot more flow. It's going to be easier than versus when we're disconnected from each other, and it's going to be fun too. I mean, if you've ever been on a team where there was alignment and then people were connected, I mean, it's just a wonderful experience to have. That's what life is all about, is being connected with each other.
Beautiful. For professionals, executives, and leaders who are worried about the perception, especially when it comes to this work with microdosing, who may be exploring this work but feel like it's maybe too woo, what would you say to them to reframe that fear and that conception?
I would say no, it's not. I mean, because you learn about living, you learn about basic. It's like you're getting reconnected to life, to yourself, and to living your life because of the 12 pillars in the program. And just really, you just learn so much. Because I really feel as we play on this playing field of life, we do, as we're dealing with challenges, we do get to disconnected from ourselves. It's like life is kind of pulling at us and trying to detach us from ourselves, trying to detach us from God, trying to detach us and like make us more of the world instead of in the world. And but it's not woo. It's like, when I think of, I mean, there's so many things that we don't understand in this world. Like I use electricity, but I don't know electricity. But just because I don't know electricity, how all the fundamentals of it, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to use it. So, so there are some things that fall into that category, but you want to get the knowledge for yourself so you can really thrive and live the life that you want to live. So
I have to say, it's so rare, unique to find an executive career coach like yourself that understands this work, understands these foundational tools, understands the power of microdosing and these sacraments. And so I just find it so unique. I mean, at this point, I'm like, I would love to work with you as well. I'm like,
that's great. That's good. I would love to work with you too, Jemie.
Thank you. Thank you. What's one piece of wisdom or encouragement as we're closing here that you'd like to share with someone who's considering the microdosing method?
Yes, I would encourage you to get information for yourself and for your loved ones too, because you want to get informed. I'm big about getting information while you're also listening to your intuition. Okay. But, and ask questions of others. And, Jemie, you were so responsive to me and other people in running the program. So just don't be afraid to ask questions, but be uncomfortable. Go ahead and take that tiny step. So if this is something that you're uncomfortable with, yet you do feel that pull to it, go with the pull, and yes, be uncomfortable. Think about the times we've all had those moments in our life where we were scared to do something and then we did it, and then you're so happy that you did. So it's like, that's how you have growth, because you're expanding your comfort zone and you're pushing it and expanding it. So.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for all that. So for all of you who are feeling interested, drawn towards microdosing, deeper holistic support and healing, I'd like to invite you to explore the microdosing method. This isn't merely just a program. It's a thoughtfully structured pathway held by people who deeply, deeply care, who are experienced facilitators, clinicians, and practitioners like Christine. So together with Reverend and Dr. Leah Linder, who is a licensed naturopathic physician and a master herbalist, and myself, we accompany you over a 5-week transformational experience, and our approach integrates neuroscience, ancestral wisdom, holistic and integrative wellness. So you feel truly supported on every single level: body, mind, soul, and spirit. And we also want to note that, microdosing isn't the magic pill in itself. You ultimately are. And understand that the plant medicine opens the door, it opens the pathway. And it's also what we call the 12 foundational lifestyle principles in our methodology that helps you transition into the door and through the pathway, and really enables you to align your daily life with what matters the most to you, and to be able to live your full best life possible. And plus, when you join and you enroll, you are going to receive a full year of integration support through what we call our Psychable Wisdom Circle. And this is where you're going to access expertise from Indigenous elders. We have the chief of the Huni Kuni tribe. We have Taitas coming from the Colombian jungle, all the way to the neuroscience, the somatics and nervous system practitioner healers, as well as our executive coaches, such as Christine, and also spiritual teachers. And also, for added legal peace of mind, we have collaborated with non-denominational churches so that your practice is federally protected under what's called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993. So if you are interested, feel free to reach out to Christine or I. You can visit us also at join.psychable.com/TMM. So with that all said, I just want to take a moment to thank Christine for just your time, your energy, your courageousness, your effort, and your expertise. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with all of us today, Christine.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be doing this, and thank you for having this conversation with me. And then with this LinkedIn Live that will be on LinkedIn, we'll put information in the comments too for people. So, but definitely, if you have questions, I encourage you to put them in the comments, and we will be responsive to you. So, but if you do think there's a remote possibility that this program could be for you, the doors do close on the 28th, which is right around the corner, which is
Sunday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to reach out to me if you would like to have a one-on-one conversation about it. I'm happy to answer questions. And thank you for being here. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Jemie.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Blessings.
Bye now.